You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more.
What I mean, this is your boy Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, we get into some indie goodness, baby. Man, it's some post-apocalyptic tales, a lot of craziness, using some familiar characters, but a very different take. Man, and my man, the one that built this whole new world, is right here in the house. My man is a creative writer, a screenwriter, a graphic novelist, created an ill team for this amazing book called Future Tales. Is available on Amazon now. I should link in a little bit, folks. Let me introduce the man right here, the big boss, the legend himself, Mr. Phillip Tarl Denson. How you doing?
Al, that's probably the best intro I've ever had. Well done.
It's energy, man. You're good. You got me energy with this. It's post-apocalyptic. It's fairy tales. Hey, listen. In the States, it's the election next week, so we might be headed to this future. Thank you, Phil, for scaring the hell out of me of the possibilities that may come.
It's good to just be prevalent and make sure that everyone is aware of what the future could hold.
Oh man, let me tell you, if it's anything like this future and Future Tales, holy smokes! I hope we have people like that in the future that'll protect our butt. Because let me tell you, it's fun, it's awesome. Different artists and what I could see, and it was just, everything just fit. It was just felt natural, and the rhythm of the story. Great job, and folks. We're gonna learn all about this in a moment. So before all that, you know what it is. We need to know the origin story. So Phil, where you originally from, and the most important question that you will be asked in your life: what is the first thing overall in fandom that you fell in love with?
Wow, what a good question. So I'm from Australia, from up in the Crocodile Dundee country. This is where they shot Crocodile Dundee. But I spent some time in LA. I lived there for a bit. I'm a screenwriter. I write in feature films and in TV here as well. But first thing I fell in love with, that's such a good question, because as a kid in the comics medium, before I got into the big three or big two, it was like Asterix comics and Tintin comics. But I would have to say, even before I got into Philip K. Dick stories, short stories, and Heinlein stories, it was Saturday morning cartoons. And I can remember very vividly watching the Transformers movie, the 1980s whatever movie. I think it was called Transformers the movie.
Transformers the movie, 86. Hell yeah.
86, right? And I was blown away with, I think I watched it on VHS in the 90s sometime. And I remember that being, for me, the first time I was like, this is amazing. What happened to Hot Rod? No spoilers. It's not that old. And I remember going, wow, that was amazing. And, I'd watched the cartoon for a few years.
So did you get emotional when Prime passed? Because let me tell you, I remember that as a kid in elementary school, I was in sixth grade by 86, and one of my boys got to see the movie, and he told us what. And let me tell you, thank God there wasn't internet back in the day, because we were all destroyed. No, I gotta see this. Shit, not Prime.
Yeah, absolutely. And because he was the guy for the first two seasons, I think, on the cartoon, that he was the dude. And then actually, but I really liked what happened with Hot Rod and the whole Prime thing. So I remember coming out of a stupor from watching that, going, oh well, this is what cartoons can be. And then from there, a huge animation fan, anime, obviously comic books and short stories, and then film and TV from there.
So did you grow up in Australia?
Yeah, I've been here all over. My father was in the army, so we moved all over the shop. And so lived in Australia my whole life. I was over in LA in 2019, and we were almost thinking about moving over there because of some career opportunities. But 2020, something else happened that year, which I won't talk about. which changed the whole world. So we stayed where we were, and now we can Zoom. I can do meetings like this wherever I'm from, so it's really good.
It is crazy. Now, okay, you said that you're an army brat then. So is it safe to assume then that you didn't have a tribe of fellow geeks then growing up, that you could kind of nurture your geekdom with?
You know what? I loved going from school to school every year or 2 years and making new friends. And in fact, when I was in year 4, so what's that, like 10 years old, a new friend of mine handed me an X-Men 2099 comic. He knew I was into sci-fi. And I didn't really, I think I knew the X-Men cartoon, and I loved the music. But yeah, 2099 is what got me into that universe. I became like a Marvel zombie, and then I became I got into DC and obviously Image after that as well. And then the last 15 years or so, I've just been fully into indie comics. I go to Kickstarter not most days, but at least once a week, and just scroll through Kickstarter. I feel that's where the most innovative and interesting comics are now. Sometimes the writing is amazing still in Image comics, and even some even talking about Transformers. That new Transformers comic is actually the writing.
Oh yeah, Skybound. Kirkman, I mean, what he did and what he pulled off with a beautiful surprise in that Void Rivals book. Like, Void Rivals, what are you talking about? You get to the end and you see Jetfire. You're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's good writing there. I mean, obviously film and TV too, because that's the world I live in. But yeah, I like kind of finding those new ideas that I haven't seen before, concepts that might look similar, but there's something new. It's not just superheroes. It's not just the same old.
Yeah. I always tell people one of my favorite books, which is non-superhero, that I always recommend to people. And they tell me, give me a comic book that's not superheroes. And I always tell them, Punk Rock Jesus, Sean G. Murphy. That book will blow your mind.
Absolutely. Sean Murphy, amazing. I think I first met him, found him as an artist, but his writing is actually quite top. He had a run on Batman.
The White Knight series was really great. I love that. Yo.
Yeah, I actually do that often. I find writers or artists that I just want to follow. And I remember Joe Kelly, finding him ages when I was a Deadpool fan, and Joe Kelly should get more credit of creating Deadpool, because he really created that voice, that comedy, the fourth wall breaking. He didn't create the character necessarily, but he really gave him the life that we know of him now.
And we know today. Yes.
Exactly. And following artists like that, or Scotty Young or whatever, I mean, I'm just pulling names out now that I just like what they do, and then you just follow their style. But also finding new and independent artists, and which is what I did for this book. I found artists from all around the world.
Oh man! Oh, we're gonna get into that now. All right, so talk to me about your creative journey then, because you're saying you're an army brat, but you were fully immersed. You're meeting people, getting into this. Like, when did you start taking steps to put your stories out there, your creativity?
Do you know what? I went the long way. I studied physics. Did science and worked in zoology as well. I did a double degree of that, and so I went a whole different route. We lived out remote in Arnhem Land, which is, an indigenous community, until I finally actually realized I should be writing. I was doing theater and writing other stuff, but I fell into my screenwriting there and option stuff. I have a feature film with Ridley Scott's company, Scott Free, and sold a few things over in the US, and working on TV and film here in Australia with some bigger names. And do you know what? This idea for Future Tales had been with me since university. I remember we were doing a little bit of a folk tale study where we're getting into mythologies and folk tales from all around the world, and how fairy tales have endured and have changed and always being adapted. Even the ones we know, like the Brothers Grimm, they were first. They were told many different ways beforehand, and they were just the ones who kind of put it all together in one book and said, this is the fairy tales. But it's been retold thousands of times. And I remember even back then, and, I think there was like Age of Apocalypse was going on during X-Men, or maybe I was in high school when that was happening. And I just love that sort of aesthetic of post-apocalyptic cyberpunk meshed together. And I was like, oh, the fairy tales, the worlds of these fairy tales, I've always thought of them being in a shared universe anyway. Like the forest that Little Red Riding Hood is in could be the same forest that Hansel and Gretel is in, or the big bad wolf from Red Riding Hood is the same big bad wolf in the Three Little Pigs. So in my mind, there was this shared universe anyway.
That wolf gets around, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He needs to get out. He eating too much. What's going on?
That was my headcanon. He's a very hungry wolf. So then I kind of created this world where it's like, okay, this is one future. All these characters exist in this same world. The wolf is the big baddie, but it's a world order liberation force. They're the force that live in this floating city, which is, where the Jack and the Beanstalk character can go up to. So it's all connected. And to me, it's not just an anthology of these standalone stories. It's these stories that all are chapters that tell one bigger story leading up to the final chapter where Avengers style, they all join together to fight the big bad. And that's the thing that I enjoyed the most, is the interweaving connection of the stories and how characters show up in each other's stories. That's something as a writer that got me excited for this project.
Oh, guys, guess what? I mean, this was on Kickstarter, and it ended, so you guys didn't get to pitch in. But don't you worry, all right? Look, you can get it on Amazon right there, all right? The link is also in the show notes. If you scroll down the show notes, go ahead and click, get this book. But what I'm going to do right now is bring up the trailer from the Kickstarter, all right? We're going to watch this, and then we're going to dive right in and see the artistry, how he built this team, and why you need to be spending that money getting this book. Again, the holidays is here, so what a wonderful gift to give, the comic book fan in your life. Check it out. The darkness. What's going on?
Once upon a time, the world ended. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. But they took everything. They called themselves the World Order Liberation Force. A wolf. We fought back as best we could. Now we fight to survive. We fight for our happily ever after.
Man, the way you said that, we fight for our happily ever after. Holy shit. I mean, aren't we all? All right. So that looks fire, don't it? Great job on that trailer. Definitely got me all intrigued, right? Then we have the PowerPoint. We have, we got it. People could just look at this art. First of all, talk to us about this cover, man. Yo, oh, yeah. I saw this cover. I said, oh shit, this is definitely eye candy on the comic book shelf. Let me tell you.
Good. Well, I found this artist, Raymond Augustin from the Philippines, who is an amazing artist. He did chapters 3, which is the Goldilocks character. And he also did some redrawing of Red, which is our main character, Little Red Riding Hood, you can see there. So when I first did the first 4 chapters, which was Little Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, Goldilocks, and Jack in the Beanstalk, those 4 characters, I got him to do this cover just to do a... because we're going to do like a preliminary, just first 4 chapters, give that away kind of thing. Yeah. And his art is just so good. And he did another version of this where he inverted the colors. It was all red, and I think the eyes were blue or something like that. And he's done so much more of this, the art throughout this. And you'll see what his work on Little Red Riding Hood is just top notch. Raymond Augustin, amazing.
Yeah. But that cover is fire. The font, everything just stands out when you see this city and the possibility of the future. Let me tell you. All right. There we go with that first page. Look at that.
Before we go too far, I will jump in. The book itself actually has this gold leaf.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, my God. Look at this guy bringing up that candy right there. Look. Oh, man, that looks great. Look at that.
Because we got to, we did pretty well on the Kickstarter, so we were able to do a few of these extra things. But I love that. The gold leaf of the title just makes it.
So it definitely pops. It pops, brother. It pops. Now, where was it? There we are. Boom. Now, look at this page. What an opener right there. that coloring pops, just the view of the city, the eye line, everything. This is fantastic looking, bro.
So this was the prologue done by Antonio Diaz from Peru. He just did these 3 pages, which I think it was this opening and then the next 2, which was a double-page spread, which basically just hinted at the world, the history of this world. Because we start, 100 years in the future where things have turned. I don't know if I can swear, so I won't swear. Things have turned.
You can swear. There's an adult show. Listen, adults buy comic books, so we're the ones that are working.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. The most of the people who bought Future Tales so far are like 40-year-olds, and they're guys and men and women who love this kind of aesthetic. This is an all ages comic. They bought it for their kids as well because it's based on fairy tales. It's a reimagining of classic fairy tales with characters that we all know, but told in this new, interesting way. It's allowed it to kind of grow into a thing that even now we're having talks with maybe making it into an animation. So,
but thank goodness, because I definitely was seeing this as a cartoon throughout in my head, like for real. Right. Like, I said, this could be anything. It needs to be an animation because it does look beautiful. There are some stories here that it's like a perfect natural fit for animation.
I agree. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully that works out. But the whole thing is that the audience is there. We didn't know how to market when we first put it out there. We almost used Kickstarter as a marketing tool. We just kind of put it out there, and we end up making, I think, $13,500 to get this printed. We were able to print a lot more, send it over to Amazon, so more people can access it from North America. So yeah, it's been really exciting.
This is great. Now talk about building that team. Because here you're saying this is your first Kickstarter, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So so here you dive in. You're semi like, what the hell am I doing? But so how did you figure it out? What was the learning curve like for you? And that journey of finding people that fit your vision of the story?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm also a producer in a smaller version of a producer here in Australia. So I like to get my team together. Everyone gets paid properly, things like that with whatever I do. In this case, it was like one at a time first per chapter. We were doing an anthology. A group of us got together who are, animators, filmmakers, and all lovers of comics. And we got together a few years back and said, let's make our own anthology. And we're going to call it Wild North Comics because we're from the north part of Australia. Okay. So we did that, and we all got to have like 10 pages each to do something. So I started with Future Tales. I could have done many different stories, but Future Tales lended itself to anthology type storytelling like this, where I can tell one chapter, a complete story, like the Little Red Riding Hood story in that 10, 12 pages. And then the second chapter will continue that story, but have a new fairy tale to focus on. So once we'd done the anthology and we'd done maybe a few of those, I think we did 3. Then we decided, actually, maybe we should collect all my ones together and do a graphic novel. And if we're going to do that, let's do it through Kickstarter and see if we can get more eyes on it, more than just our local buyers who were already really excited for the project. Once we started doing that, I was like, okay, I need some more artists per chapter. So I have a few different chapters happening at the same time. I'll just quickly go through some of the artists because they're amazing. I already talked about Raymond Augustin from the Philippines. We had Zidiat Chakoy from Morocco. He did chapter 4. We had chapter 2 was a Nigerian artist, Adelaide Yusuf. And the cool thing about this is I told the artists to bring their own flavor, but they're also their own culture into their work. So like Adelaide, he was like, great, he had Sleeping Beauty. He's going to make Sleeping Beauty an African, like a Nigerian woman. Yeah. And I was like, do it. That's great. That's what I want. Like bringing your own, style and culture. Even the Moroccan artist made Jack look a little bit Moroccan. In his mind, he said he's a Moroccan little scavenger. And I was like, great, we want that. We had Lucas Aziz from Brazil and Sylvia Ferreira, who did the Cinderella one. And she made Cinderella a Brazilian person. And, she's got that metal leg and everything. I talked about Antonio.
Cool. What a different take on the Cinderella myth on that. I mean, not only is she losing a whole lot more than a shoe, let me say that much.
Yeah. We went a little bit like, I think the Little Red Riding Hood and the Goldilocks one. And and probably even the Hansel and Gretel one were very strict to the stories. Some of the other ones, I kind of got a little bit creative and had some fun, just so it made sense for our overarching storyline. But also, it still has the DNA of the fairy tales. Like, I think I want not to give too much away, but the Rapunzel one, Zell, she letting down her hair is that she's up in that floating city, and she's letting down an elevator so that the people can come up. So there's a little bit of creative license, let's say, in some of these chapters.
You can see it there in this image, that elevator thing that you talked about right there.
You hint at that from the very start.
And there we go. I mean, you start opening into battles. And let me just say that I like what you said, though, that when you give your artist creative freedom as well. And it's not, so I like that concept where it's not my story, it's our story. Absolutely. So, that is so empowering, when you give that type of license to someone. And obviously, because you gave that license, they help create something so beautiful.
100% agree with that. And even this concept, it's sort of baked in. The fact that fairy tales are universal. They're all over in every country, whether from France, which one of our other artists was from, Darius, all the way to like the Philippines, to Peru. It's all, every one of these artists knows these stories back to front. They've been retold many times. It's all about this collaboration and universal connection. So I really loved making it with I wrote all the chapters. I kind of designed some of the things and also laid out some of my artwork, even made it into the book. But ultimately, it was collaborating with these artists, which allowed it to really become what it became.
And something else I kind of noticed, I mean, action sequences, but, there's action and then there's violence, right? And I've noticed that, even in your action scenes, when there will be something violent, it's kind of almost a turn away, let your mind decide what the hell just happened. And I actually kind of like that, because that actually does make it a nice YA or family tale, because you're not trying to be so gory and bloody. So good job on that.
Oh, thank you. We did think about this. I have kids as well. And my daughter dressed up as Goldilocks, my character Locks, for her dress up day. So it's like, we wanted this to become something that, kids can enjoy. Fairy tales. I think fairy tales are quite all ages. Often we say all ages, what we really mean, it's for kids, but parents might enjoy it. Whereas I think this book is actually all ages. Like, you can be 80s or 40 years old and actually get something out of this book. It might remind you of, Battle Angel Alita, or like some of those old anime that we used to watch, Ghost in the Shell and stuff like that. But it also for new people.
I'm not just saying new stuff. The full-length movies where you were actually glued for 2 hours on your screen. Like, what the hell is going on?
Absolutely. I remember watching Akira. I would have been a young kid at a friend's house, and I don't even know how they got a copy, but watching Akira and just my mind being blown at how good it was. Yeah.
Me too. Me and the fellas had gone to a comic book convention in the early 90s, and then they had the videotapes, and we got these cartoons, and I saw Akira on the screen, little TV. I said, yo, that looks cool. Let me get that tape. Man, let me tell you, when we got home from that con, my apartment had like 10 guys. We're on the sofa. We're like, yo, this is dope. And I love you brought that up, because this is very much reminiscent of Akira, this image right here. I love it.
Of course. I didn't even think about that, actually, until you just mentioned it. But this is our first artist, Annika Putri, who's here in Australia, but originally from Indonesia. So she brought this together, and she was the one who actually helped first imagine some of the stuff we were going for. And that's why we got this chapter cover in it, because we did change her design, Red's design, and her motorcycle design a bit. But I wanted to just homage this creator, because she was amazing, this artist.
Yeah. I love this. Now, this is definitely a t-shirt, movie, whatever. This is it right here. This is fire. I dig that image a lot. And again, you saw the first artworks, right, guys? Now look at this. You see how the artistry changes as well, and even the color palettes and everything. Great job. Again, it's eye candy. And like you said, it doesn't matter how old you are. You're going to enjoy this book. I enjoyed the book. I read it once, sitting straight through. Didn't put it down. I was like, oh, this is great. Keep going. So again, entertaining, and you don't even feel the time pass. It's just because you get into it. You do care about the characters, because again, they're tied into iconic classic characters. It's just a new take.
Do you know what? That's a really interesting point you raised, because I am very much a visual storyteller. I like the visuals that do much of the storytelling. I don't like to fill in my panels with words. That being said, that means I've had some people say, "Oh, it's a quick read. It's 100 pages," but people say, "Oh, it's quite a quick read." And I first thought, "Oh no, is that a bad thing?" But every one of them was like, "No, we like that. I could read it. I get the whole story. I get these 7 different fairy tales, but how they all connect into one story. Read it quickly." And then they always ask, "What's next? When's the next ones?" And I'm like, "Oh."
What's the next? Oh, now you're feeling the pressure. Feels like, oh God, no, I'm busy enough.
Exactly. Maybe next year we could do some more. There was a few fairy tales that didn't make it into this book, which I can do something with in the second book, and it kind of shows the aftermath of what happened in the final chapter from this book. So yeah, there might be something there. There's some other different ideas I've got going on as well, but we'll see.
And I love the design of the soldier right there, the wolf suit, everything that looks really dope. And was there an image in the book somewhere?
Oh yes, there is an image. I think one of the pages where we have the mechanical version of the wolf soldiers, they have there. He looks pretty dope.
Yeah, well, my fingers have been scrolling all day. I'm getting that George Jetson swollen finger act right now. What's going on? Oh yeah, and again, it's a Zell, that artistry there, yo.
Yeah,
the artistry on that Zell, especially the panel where the people, that full page and the people are, hiding, and it's like, yo, it reminds me old school Mad Magazine style.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Groupings, and now I'm curious because I see a lot of facial features that are really well. It's like, are these people thrown into the book?
It's funny that you say that. Firstly, the artist who did that chapter, it was our French artist, so he brought that more European flavor. And his name is Darius Kubczynski. And it's what we really wanted to do is, like, when we had the Hansel and Gretel tale, it's told from kids' eyes, the point of view of children. So they made it more Disney, a bit more cartoony. Yes. Whereas the French one or the European one, try to make it that classic European style. It has got a little bit of Mad Max, but that one page, I actually drew in some faces because in the Kickstarter, we had one of those, draw in. So I think there was about 4 or 5 people who did that. So I made them pop a little bit, like I made it a little bit lighter on the faces so their faces pop out a bit. But you can see the ones that probably are real people that have paid to have their face painted in.
Yeah, let me see if I could just show just a tag just of that group, and there we go. Let me get that out of there. People couldn't artistry. I mean, look at that page, guys. I mean, look at the art. Yo, how cool! And I mean, the Kanye West pitching, because that was like Kanye right there. He would definitely.
It does look like Kanye. Hey, no, we have. You can actually see some of them. You probably pick out which ones are the people I've had to paint in. The faces look a bit lighter. There's a redhead in there as well, and
God, right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and there's an older couple and someone with sunglasses up the back top right.
Must be
there. Yeah, there it is.
I see the differences, and this lady over here is different.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got her in as well. But
so I'm telling you guys, you'll have fun looking at this book. Honestly, it's a great looking book, man. I mean, look at these pages again and that design. I mean, you got the back cover. And look, I'm showing this link. This is where you can get it. All you gotta do is go to Amazon. How simple is that? It's Christmas time. The holidays is coming, folks. There is no excuse for. Listen, you want to put on the comic book fan or the reader in your life. Readers of all ages, any age. This is the great stocking stuff for Comic Crusaders approved 100%. I'm telling you, you guys will appreciate it. And listen, you're gonna look so cool when you put on the loved one in your life to something new. Like I never seen this. That's right. That nerd swag right there, baby. Future Tales available now. Now, Phil, I need to know, man. Like, what's popping in Oz? There's like conventions still popping off over there. What are you getting into for the rest of this year?
Well, yeah, there's definitely conventions. We went down to a convention.
They love the colors. You see, hold on, look at Phil. Schultz over here, loving them. See them telling they pop, right, Schultz? They pop.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I love about this, working with this artist. He really puts his all into it and really finds the colors that just make it work. And I love this cover. It's so good. We have variant covers too. I think we might have saw one of different artists. JC Grant did one with red.
Oh, look,
that was on the back cover of this one. But anyway, we had fun.
Awesome. All right. So again, what were you getting into for the rest of this year? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did have some conventions during the year, and we popped down to Sydney, and there was another one in Melbourne, I believe. And because there's a group of us at Wild North Comics, we might share that out. And next year, do you know what? We've actually have some friends, Just Alt Comics. I think they have a table over at San Diego Comic Con, and we may be able to sneak onto that, or at least get some books there, which would be great.
What? We meet each other there because I'm actually considering going in 2025. Big consideration, yeah. One of my business partner, CXCC Studios, big shout out to my boy Clap. He's like, Al, I already have the hotel locked down. You get that pass, just come. You don't worry about it. So now
that'll be great. If you're there, we'll hang out. And yeah, you're such a good salesman too, and the way you hype up.
I'll sell your books. Listen, you have no inventory left in a couple of hours. We just hit a corner right there in San Diego, pop them off. You have a great convention. Don't you worry.
That's so good. But yeah, we've got a few other plans for Wild North Comics. Got some other comics have come out as well, and some really interesting ones. So yeah, keep your eye out.
So when it comes to Wild North Comics, I mean, outside of Facebook, I mean, do you have a website as well or something where if we wanted to, see books or what the future is coming?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, the Wild North Comics website is probably the best place to go to. So wildnorthcomics.com, and then obviously / for Future Tales. But if you just go to wildnorthcomics.com, that will show you everything else that's going on there. Really good website too.
You mean this website right here?
Yeah. Whoa, you are good at this.
Yeah, we gotta be fast, man. You talking, we gotta put some time because people, I mean, look at this. Go to this wonderful website, wildnorthcomics.com. I'll put the link in the notes below as well. But I mean, look at it. 0. Oh, that looks dope. This looks so awesome.
That's one of our original creators who we teamed up with, John Saunders, who did an Indigenous superhero, and he's been doing it for ages. It's got that old school kind of superhero vibe. He's really got into that world. I love it.
Oh, I'm digging it. Ooh, Black Power. What's this?
Yeah, that's using a lot of our Indigenous artists because where we live, we work a lot and with Indigenous artists, and they're part of Wild North Comics. So yeah, it's some really interesting stuff going on in there.
I like this image right here though, with the eye, but then you got the clock and the gears. It's like, yo, what are you trying to tell us? We robots, yo? This is how our eyeballs work within the Matrix.
That's a really interesting one. It's obviously time travel-y, but there's a lot of psychedelics and interesting stuff in there. So,
so maybe I'll eat a chocolate mushroom bar and read this book. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Oh, fun to do it. Now, I always love Indigenous stuff, though, and things that are like. Talk to me about this. This looks really cool.
I'm glad that you brought that up. That one is. I am actually producing an animation for this, and we've just done a concept. Yeah, we're pitching to Disney,
here, folks. I'm just guessing, and I keep hitting the mark today. Where about it?
Good. Yeah. And it's just because you can see just from that style and that the visuals of what it is. It's basically like Avatar: Last Airbender, but set in Australia, historical Australia, reimagined. It's not fully Australia. It's a alternative history Australia, and there's like, instead of the British, they're called the Albion Nation. They've come in, colonization and all that, and we've got like Cathay pirates and treasure hunters, as in from China and stuff like that. But it's really the story of this guy, and there's some magic and adventure. It's a proper like teenager tween sort of animated series that we're getting a lot of attention from. We've done a lot of proof of concepts, and John Saunders, Indigenous artist, is behind that as well as Timothy Wood, who was the creator of the comic. But yeah, I love that one. I really hope we get that up soon.
So thank you, Schultz, for chiming in over here. He's like, he's gonna steal your color theme.
Do it. That's what we do. Even if you look through the book of Future Tales, a lot of it you're like, oh, that sort of reminds me of this one thing, or this other thing. It's like that's what we do. We take all the good things that work for us, and I think that's a beautiful thing about creatives. We're like, yep, let's inspire and be inspired.
Fuck yeah, because this again, I love future stuff. Like what's going on here? Dead City Lullabies. What's this?
Yeah, Aidan Roberts. He did all of this. He was the writer, the artist, the bit more contemplative sort of post-apocalyptic storytelling, artistic. He even did a music like LP soundtrack. He's got a record out as well. Yeah, really interesting one. In fact, I might have a copy here. That I mean, you can see it there. But yeah, I really like that one.
So basically, we will be listening to lullabies as we read the book. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's this? I mean, you got something classic going on? Because this has such a retro look. What's this?
Yeah, this is how we started. So there's an artist up here, Frank Goya, who does these really retro print artworks. And this was one of his art pieces. And we used this for our first cover of our anthology, Wild North Comics anthology. So we got his permission to do so. But inside we have there's robot one, there's avant-garde sort of comic. There was my Future Tales one. That was quite eclectic storytelling within. And then we've started to branch out, and they'll start to become their own standalone comics as well, which is exciting.
Excellent. And folks, this is the website right there. The link is below. I'm going to add it to the show notes. Go here. You can get anything and everything from the Wild North Comics universe, including Future Tales and everything. You've seen it. It looks gorgeous. I mean, this is badass. Everything looks badass. Damn it. You're going to make me poor, guys.
Hey, I'm going to send you a little parcel with some of the books, man. Don't you worry about that.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Because again, everything looks great. Now, all right, we discussed what's popping for the rest of the year. So, all right, so we're reaching our end over here. And of course, folks, do I need to remind you, Christmas gifts. Christmas is around the corner. All right. Who cares about elections and crap? With Christmas and buying new cool books. Look at that. Look at that sexy book right there with that gold foil.
It would be a good Christmas book. Yeah, I think it would work good especially for kids, for teenagers. But actually, it's interesting. A friend of mine said their kid who doesn't read very much or finds it hard to read loved this book, read it, and reads it every night. So nice. Some people it gets you into reading if it's for kids. I mean, if you're just an adult, it's got something for everyone.
Again, you did something cool. You brought something that was old into the now with a different take that we really haven't seen before. So again, you made it fun, and the fact that you built a team, a worldwide team at that, it's exciting and it's a great looking book, sexy. I mean, Schultz is all over. Schultz, you know what to do. He always says Future Tales. She says already hits the favorites. Schultz, get it done.
You're my favorite.
This is where you go right there. All right, Amazon, and
we pretty cheap for a graphic novel. I think it's $20 US.
That's nothing. That's great.
Yeah, 106 pages. So.
Low cost gift, 106 pages, fits in a stocking. You don't want to fold it though, so make sure you put it nice and good. Right? Take care of these books, people. All right, now, but Phillip, you're awesome, man. Lastly, any words of advice to any creators trying to step into the game like you have?
Yeah, do you know what? Whether you've got ideas for screenwriting and film and things like that, something about the comic medium, it allows you to do big ideas for a relatively cheap price. If you're an artist, man, you can just do it yourself. If you want to work with an artist, I'd encourage you, there's a bit of money there, but there's some deals you can do with artists. But get into it and just try, have fun. One thing I would say about writing a comic, it's a little bit more like directing, because for me at least, I'm thinking about the panels and particularly the final panel, the turn, how to get the reader to turn the page and keeping that momentum and excitement up. So, if you've got a little bit of inklings into that sort of world, directing, writing, and especially if you do big genre stuff like sci-fi or fantasy, I think comics can be the way to prove that idea, and you get IP out of it. You get your intellectual property out into the world, and then from there, it can become whatever it becomes. Disney will buy it.
Oh, yeah, man. And put that paper in your pocket and then change the whole story afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to story rate, just go to the only play.
That's a good point.
I'm just saying, that's why I love indie, man. It's just this power in indie, control, and you actually, have some sway over what is yours when approached. Because I love what Pat Mills told me once. the great Pat Mills, godfather of indie comics in the UK. He goes, if anyone ever calls you asking you about something you created and they're calling you, just tell them like this: what the fuck do you want to do with my product? And then, let them know it's yours and what the hell you want to do with it. And if you don't agree with it, then simply say no. I'm like, oh, thank you, Pat. Gangster.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I think we get a little bit starstruck, or we're like, oh, money, we need the money or whatever. And then it just gets, as long as you keep your creative vision in the mix and you get to have some say, they don't just take the rights and run with it, then yeah, I think 100%. I mean, if Pat said it, then it must be real.
It's Pat. And look, and Schultz is talking on the comic. He goes, big fast. He's working on his first comic, and man, it made him break the fear of doing backgrounds.
Ah, good. Yeah, that's really interesting. Even I still have that. I do a bit of my own art, and I like doing characters, but I'm not great at backgrounds, or at least I think I'm not. So maybe, thank you. Maybe that's encouraged me to go and try again.
Now you're going to create vivid cities, and now we're going to see no people in the stories, just voices. Yeah. Like, who's talking? Let's go. Yo, you're about to murder the game, man. You're already doing it. I mean, I see great energy. I see a great future for Wild North, future tellers, and more. I can't wait. Meet in San Diego. Get some of these books. But definitely, folks, one last time, very important. This is what I need you to do to support independent creators like my man Phil. Go visit his website, wildnorthcomics.com. All right. Then if you can't go there, maybe you're in the car, you're scrolling through Amazon, even though you shouldn't while we're talking. But if you are, go that link right there and buy this book. All right. Now then, make sure you get on order so it arrives before Christmas. And of course, show love on the socials. Facebook at Wild North Comics. And if you want to follow Phil, and see how well he's going to start drawing backgrounds, follow him at Phillip Tarl, right?
Yeah, thanks, man.
No doubt. And to everybody that was tuning in, I appreciate you. A lot of guys and gals were quiet. I see your numbers though, so thank you for tuning in. Shows, thank you for being bold enough to comment and chit chat with us. You rock. You know what it is. Mi gente, thank you. comiccrusaders.com is the place to be. Check out Comic Crusaders podcast. Check out Mi gente over the rest of my family that we do Cake Pop Cosmos, the Old Timers comic book show that just did their 100th. And you know what this was, right? My 500th episode.
Hey, well done.
Phil, number 500. So thank you everybody for keeping me going. Thank you for everybody who wants to be on the show. We have more great guests lined up this week and next coming week. So yeah, I'm gonna be pretty busy, but I'm gonna be picking the brains and speaking with amazing talented people like my man here. So mi gente, thank you everybody for hanging out. I appreciate the hell out of you. Hasta la próxima, mi gente. Huepa!
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.com and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.